So last night, by this time, we were beginning PM Express and looking at Parliament to find out what may happen with the e-levy. As the hour went on, in fact, minutes turning into hours, we had to extend PM Express for a special coverage of Parliament. And then, of course, just before midnight, the chaos played out. We were with you throughout until just around 1 a.m. And we said we will return to look at really what happened and the way forward. We are here tonight to do just that. And so let's get into it. We all know what has happened in Parliament. And it all started yesterday morning at the Finance Committee level. Because at the Finance Committee level, they approved the controversial e-levy bill for consideration by the House. But they approved this to be done on a certificate of urgency. We'll get into how that happened very shortly. And it was done despite the resistance of the minority caucus. And so they didn't only approve by majority decision, by the way, at the committee level, 13-12. They didn't only approve that they think the e-levy bill should be sent to the floor under a certificate of urgency. They also basically recommended for the House to approve the 1.75, just as the finance minister had brought to Parliament in his budget. But as the minority had already said, they were opposed to this. And so they demanded that all these key issues were put to a vote. And so there was a first vote on whether or not this should go to the plenary under a certificate of urgency. And then there were two other votes on some of the line items in the e-levy itself, particularly the imposition of the levy on Momo and also the bank transfers originating from individuals. That was those two. Those two are the key thorny issues. All three went for a vote. At the initial count, it was 12 each, and then the chairman had that tie-breaking vote, and it ended up being 13-12. So that is the basis of the confusion you saw in the House, because this has started at the committee level. So then the recommendation was done about, simply recommending the approval of the e-levy bill under the certificate of urgency. But then when it gets to the floor of the House, there was controversy, because the minority side in the chamber were opposed still to the issue of certificate of urgency, which is really what led to the disturbances. And if you look at the numbers, this really was a numbers game. We all knew it would get to the point where the numbers will have to count. And yesterday, both sides were ready for this on the floor. If you look at if you have Alban Babi in the chair, the MPP side, you expect them to have 138 people. And the minority side, as the NDC side, you expect them to have 137. And so each time they vote, if the Alban Babi was in a chair, you expect the MPP side to win. But that didn't happen yesterday. Alban Babi was not in a chair for some reason. We'll get into that. And the NDC side, of course, then we'll have the numbers. If all the 137 of the MPP were on the floor, there'll be a tie. And if there's a tie, the vote is lost. And that is why you heard Afenyo Markin do a press conference on PM Express yesterday to say, where is the speaker? And they believe he was part of this grand plan to frustrate government because he disappeared at a very convenient time. We've learned that he had legitimate reasons, being he had some health concerns that he had to take care of. If you have any of the deputy speakers in the chair, then it comes down to a simple case of a tie. That is, if all sides bring their numbers. And so that's the peculiarities that fuel the chaos and the violence we saw yesterday. But this Parliament is very, very unique, not only because of the even nature of the numbers or equal nature of the numbers, but also because of the propensity for violence. This is the January 6th. Of course, this year alone, we've had two incidents of this. January 6th, there was a huge fight in the floor of Parliament. On the floor, military men had to walk in. And then 20th, just last night into this morning, we had this free-for-all exchange of blows also in the House. So two in a year. I doubt if any parliament in our republic have had that. And there have been many, many walkouts too. So walkouts is very, very normal. We're going to look at this. Dr. Casey Latofosing is my guest tonight. He is the ranking on the Finance Committee where all the work was done. They really, set the tone for this. They voted. It was civil, but it didn't pan out so on the floor. So what happens now? between now and next year when Parliament resumes, now that the e-levy consideration has been suspended indefinitely, what is the expectation that what will happen within this time frame that they have? After the break, he joins me. Stay with me. And thank you very much for staying with us here on PM Express. You were with us yesterday throughout into this morning, talking about the e-levy in Parliament. Well, now the chips are down. The dust is beginning to settle a bit. Maybe has completely, because Parliament is over for this year. Nobody knows when Parliament is returning. Maybe my guest who is joining me, Dr. Kesla Tofosin, will know something about when they'll return. He is the ranking member on the Finance Committee in Parliament and, of course, was at the center of where the real conversations happen at the committee level. And he's my guest tonight. Doc, thank you for your time here on PM Express again.
Thank you, Evans.
It was, this must have been 3-4 weeks ago. I hosted you on the show with your chairman, and you were very emphatic that day that you were going to fight tooth and nail to stop the e-levy. It appears that you may have won the battle on this one, but I don't think that you agree that you won the war yet.
Evans, let me say that we had a position, principal position, a position that is based on the fact, based on economic policy, based on tax policy, and we believe there's every need for us to do whatever we can to stop the levy. We ensured that we get a caucus to back our position as the Finance Committee members of Parliament, the minority side, which we did. And obviously we did just that, took it through, prosecuted. And as we speak, we are just about to get a victory. We're not there yet. I don't want to, promise the people of Ghana that there's victory, while there's not. Government, for some reason, decided not to continue the consideration of the bill on the floor, obviously due to what happened yesterday. What we are not sure is the next line of action. If you ask me to advise government, I will advise them that in line, obviously because of what has happened, and now that we have some time before Parliament comes back, I'm hearing about 18th of January. If indeed it's 18th of January, certainly they have almost 1 month. This is the time I expect leadership. And if truly there's leadership in this country, I want them to really think through this policy, invite people, seek their opinion on the matter. Let's have candid discussion in the interest of the country. And I believe if that is done and done well, this levy will not see the light of the day.
But since November, when the budget was spread, isn't that what government has been doing, consulting?
I don't think so. I think government has done some consultation, and it's more or less internal consultation, meeting their own party people and explaining to them why they should get a levy, why they should get tax revenue.
They didn't meet your side formally?
They have. The kind of conversation we had to do with the fact that we opposed the budget, including e-levy, and when the budget was rejected, they decided for us, the two of us, to sit and negotiate. There was nothing really. I did not see it as something on the table. They were just, we explained the reasons why we do not support the budget and talked about the fact that the wording in the particular approval that we gave does not reflect the statement in the budget. We talk about the fact that we do not accept AJAPA in any shape or form. We talk about the fact that we do not accept the e-levy as a tax policy, and we will not be part of its approval. Because if we approve it, then it becomes consequential on us to approve it subsequently.
But on the e-levy, I've heard Chairman Sabonsi,
Yes.
I've heard Afanyo Marking say there was a meeting in which the minority actually made a concession to do at least accept a 1%.
Let me say that you see, that is what I find very difficult on the part of the MPP, and you can see the kind of maybe mistrust. I was part of that meeting. Okay, I'm a member of the negotiation team, and our position was, one, we've seen countries across the world, in Africa in particular, that have made an attempt to impose a similar tax, particularly on mobile money, not the other ones, the mobile money. And the fact that they received a lot of resistance because of A, B, C, D. So let's learn from those countries. And the analysis was, for instance, in a particular country like Tanzania, the very tax policy relating to the mobile money was subsequently revised. The rate was revised by 50%. So why don't we do something similar coming from the minority leader? It does not necessarily mean that the minority leader had said that he wants 1%. In the statement, he said that, look, we have looked at the analysis, we've looked at countries in Africa, and none of them has a tax policy of that similar tax policy with a rate of above 1%. We've seen 0.5, we've seen 1%, we've seen 0.2%. So even if you are trying to impose a levy of the sort, don't let it exceed that threshold.
So you were happy if it was 1% then?
No, not away. I have said from day one that I do not support mobile money.
So
my posture is don't tax Momo. For a simple reason. I've explained to you, and let me explain to you again. Evans, when you talk about domestic tax, we have two types of domestic tax: direct and indirect. The direct domestic tax relate to taxing income and all types of income. You can tax direct income or passive income. And that is why all over the world, what countries seek to do now is to identify the new income streams and taxing it appropriately. So you are seeing innovative ways to tax income. It's a traditional tax policy, and it has stayed with us all this time, and globally, that is the structure. I will not oppose any government that identifies a new stream of income and tax it appropriately. I will never do that. As a tax policy expert, I will never do that. Then you have what we call indirect tax. Indirect tax is a tax on consumption of goods and services. Economists popularly call it expenditure tax. In fact, it's the most popular tax policy among revenue economists, because we believe that it does not create inefficiencies, and in the end, it is a tax policy that is preferred. That is why we have things like value-added tax. Okay, communication service tax, for instance. Anytime you consume something, you pay. But to surprise you to know that, Evans, this tax policy we are talking about is neither a direct tax or indirect tax. It is only a tax on medium of exchange. Mobile money transaction is a medium of exchange. Who taxes a medium of exchange? So a similar medium of exchange is cash. So why do you tax me for holding cash? In the same way you can't tax me for holding cash, you cannot tax somebody who holds money or electronic money. In fact, mobile money service is electronic money. So why do you tax me? We have said that an attempt to tax mobile money will mean a tax on savings, a tax on pensions, a tax on capital. In fact, you are taxing the less privileged in society, and a tax on a medium of exchange. A tax on savings, because we know that per the structure of this country, the people that use mobile money. In fact, hitherto, before the emergence of mobile money, most Ghanaians were not having, particularly those in underprivileged areas, were not actually having a bank account. And they use the mobile money wallet as their bank account. In fact, their savings account. When they have a cedi, they decide to put it on their wallet. You are taxing that? Who does that?
But all the things
nobody does that.
All the things that you mentioned are already subject to tax. Even pensions.
Pension is not subject to tax.
If I take my pension,
yes.
So I think what you're saying is, if you take your pensions, you want to transfer it, so you want to,
yes,
something is going to be charged on it.
Right.
But isn't that the same thing? Right now, if you have the same thing you're transferring it, you already pay a percentage of that that the mobile money operators take.
Yes.
The mobile money operators themselves in turn also pay taxes on that to government. So already it's happening already. Okay. So what's the difference with this one?
So let me explain something. Number one, per the Constitution of this Republic, if you check Article 199.3, it is clear that pension is tax exempt constitutionally. So any attempt to tax pension is unconstitutional.
But this is indirectly, very remotely taxing it.
No, because for
This is not
instance,
directly.
VAT, we've heard from Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, saying that beginning this month, they are paying pension using mobile money as a medium of exchange. An attempt to impose a tax on VAT, on mobile money, will mean a tax on pension, which frowns, the Constitution frowns on it.
But
So that
even
becomes
in the absence of the e-levy, if that's what State wants to do, they will still have to pay charges.
No,
for the transfer.
You see, charges are not the same as taxes.
No, but
it is. No, of course,
it's a levy.
But it is for a reason. It's not a levy. It's a bank charge, a third party. It's not the same. It's not for nothing that the Constitution was specific and said that.
Is it because it's not going to the government that you say it's
exactly?
Not?
It's a bank.
But then those charges that the banks take, indirectly, they also pay.
Exactly. So the bank is earning an income.
Yeah.
So they are paying income taxes.
On the charges.
On the charges. So when you earn income, you pay taxes on the income. And that is why I said it's a direct tax.
So if the e-levy was on the charges that
I would not have a problem. I would not have a problem.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying that I will not have a problem with the government if they identify any, innovative way to tax income. But this is not an income tax. It's a transactional tax. Who does that?
Well, your position on why you oppose this is very clear. Let's return to some of the controversial points. And I'll go back to this suggestion and articulation by both the majority leader and the deputy that there was an agreement for 1%.
Right.
They insist that happened in this meeting and that there was an agreement until the party folks started pulling your strings. And then you made a reversal. Now, why has that become an issue? Because then publicly, we had your leader, Harun Adriso, at one function say, well, he has been convinced because he started off by saying, I don't want it at all. Yeah. And then he said public, this was a public, everybody heard him say that he's been convinced that, well, its reduction may be good and not necessarily scrapping it altogether. People read into that and say that is a reflection of what really happened in that meeting.
Now, even in the first place, if indeed there was an agreement that we're going to stick with 1%, why is it that when the bill appeared before Parliament, we had 1.75%?
So that's the thing, that minorities are having flip-flopping on this matter.
No. You see, the government position has never changed. The finance minister has never said in any of the gatherings that he has addressed this matter to say that he's changing the position.
But your position has also not.
But let me tell you.
At least changed.
I am the spokesperson. As long as this party is concerned on issues of finance, I am the ranking member of the Finance Committee. I'm the official spokesperson on issues of this nature. Have you heard me flip-flop on this matter? My position has always been that don't tax Momo. And we do not agree that mobile money should be taxed. I spoke vehemently against mobile money taxation. I spoke vigorously against the fact that remittances and bank transfers should never be taxed.
And you articulated that.
Yes, and I've heard government now saying that they are not going to tax remittances.
Yeah.
I spoke
the bill
against,
doesn't mention that.
It doesn't. In fact, at the Committee of Finance, when we held a meeting, the government was emphatic that they are going to, they've decided to stay away from remittance because I pointed the negative impact of this taxation.
So that is concession.
You see,
that is a concession the government is making.
It's a very little concession. See,
it's a significant one.
Let me tell you something. The MPP have a difficulty with them anytime they develop a tax policy. Very serious difficulties. My concern has to do with tax policy. It's not something that you have to sleep. You sleep in the next morning and say that you are going to impose a tax. No, you do consultation. In fact, you sit down and plan it, look at its trade-offs and its impact on the economy. Why didn't they engage us from the beginning? So that we can input into the tax policy.
I think the ship sailed on that, but is it not inaccurate to say the government did not consult at all and they haven't listened? Because you just mentioned there that when this started and when it was read, I remember hosting you and the chairman, and you were vehement that you opposed the imposition of this on remittances.
Correct. Because
the initial intention was it. When the thing came before you, it's no longer in it. And a lot of the other items too had been taken away. But so that's a concession. No, that's the government listening.
It is immaterial to us.
Why is that?
It is immaterial.
Why is that immaterial? You can't even acknowledge that is a concession.
No, it is immaterial. It's immaterial concession. The elephant in the room is mobile money taxation. That's the elephant in the room. We have not seen them move They've not moved on the rate. And most importantly, in fact, my major concern has to do with the exemptions, the 100 cities that they are exempted.
It's too small?
It is negligible. In fact, the impact out there will be meaningless. If the intention is to exempt the underprivileged, the poor people in our society, then that 100 cities need to be reviewed.
To what?
To 1,000 Ghana cedis per day.
1,000?
1,000 Ghana cedis per day.
So you're saying that unless you're sending more than 1,000,
that's what it is.
Then it shouldn't apply.
Exactly. Because,
but that's unrealistic.
It is very realistic.
I mean, that would only, you'd be taxing.
So let me tell you why.
Small group of people.
Let me tell you why it is realistic. If you decide, you see, tax policy should be convenient. That's one of the principles of the tax policy. It shouldn't be something that is putting burden on someone that has to create inconvenience. So if today I've worked somewhere and I have, let's say, 1,000 Ghana cedis, an ordinary person, assume that I'm an ordinary person. I'm in Accra, my parent isn't well, I'm remitting money home. And I send 1,000 Ghana cedis. That person per day, it doesn't mean the person should wait day 1 to go and send 100 Ghana cedis, day 2 to go and send 100 Ghana cedis, day 3 and wait for 10 days before they remit that to get all those tax exemptions. No. So grant it at 1,000 Ghana cedis at the minimum. So that has been our position.
But that is unrealistic. Because again, the reason why this was introduced is to raise enough revenue. Mm-hmm. If you do 1,000, that is eroding the whole purpose of this, because then lot of people, a majority of Ghanaians will be exempt. A lot of these informal sector people who don't already pay the tax will be exempt. Then what's the point of this conversation about broadening the tax net that we've been having all this time? This is returning to the same old problem.
So it takes you back to the fundamental question. Why are you taxing transaction? Why are you taxing a medium of exchange? Look for income and tax. Look for consumptions and tax. That is what you do for domestic tax.
Everybody is not paying that.
Everybody pays consumption tax. Everybody pays consumption tax.
The informal sector workers aren't paying enough. This is a way to do that.
You see, so informal sector people, yes, granted that they're not paying enough. But it's also, you can agree with me that it is the responsibility of government to put up structures in place and to ensure that they can find a way to tax the informal sector.
Okay, that's the conversation we've been having. Let's return to the inside story. Let's go back to the committee. Yesterday, when the bill came before you, there were 5 items that was key for you in terms of what the levy is going to be levied on. The first one is mobile money transfer, which you said you opposed. So you asked for a vote on this.
Yes.
Okay, and you tied and then eventually lost because the chairman.
In fact, clause 1 is where they're imposing the tax on mobile money service.
And it says, quote, mobile money transfer is done between accounts on the same EMI.
Yes.
That is the one.
So I proposed an amendment to the committee to delete it.
Okay. I saw that.
Yes.
Delete all of them.
So they said delete it, and at the committee we subjected it to a vote. And then I lost, came back again and said that since we lost the vote, so it stayed at 1.75, then reimpose it at 0.00001%. And I lost that one as well. Oh,
so you actually proposed a 0.1%?
0%, and I lost it. Mm-hmm. And so they instated the 1.75.
Okay.
And I had to come again. I can't come again on the zero, delete it 0%. Because it's already lost. Mm-hmm. So I have to get something close to the 0.
So you added 1 to after the 0?
0.0001. Okay. So it's almost 0.
And you lost on that
too? And I lost that one too.
And then you asked for a division?
I asked for a division.
Okay. And then
the division was taken. And the chairman does not have an original vote. So it means that the clerk will have to follow the rules of the division, which is in line with Order 211. So you mention your name and you vote openly. So 12 NDC members of the committee, led by myself, we voted for my amendment. And then obviously my amendment is to delete the clause entirely. And then the MPP colleagues on the committee voted against my amendment. So it became a tie. Then the chairman will have to exercise his right under Order 2115. So he voted against my motion, and it will mean that I lost the vote.
So that's 13-12?
13-12.
And this also happened for bank transfers originating from bank accounts belonging to an individual?
Exactly, clause 5.
Clause 5.
Yes.
I wonder, the other 3 issues on which e-levy was to be imposed, what happened to that? Did you vote on that too?
Yes.
All of them?
All of them. And what we have said is simple. First, the policy has to do with debating the memorandum and then approving the memorandum. We have said that we do not believe in that completely. So we subjected that to a vote, together with considering it as on a certificate of urgency. So we subjected the two of them into a vote. And we lost it using the same division, and then we lost. We had a tie, and then obviously the chairman exercises right under the others, and then obviously the MPP carried the day. We came again under clause 1, where we believe that if we delete it, it's as good as, if we are successful on that one, it's as good as the one that we lost. And then did the same, we lost. And then subsequently we subjected to a vote. We said, look, what we can do on the committee is for us to raise the issues. And then ask for a vote. And I noticed that MPP had a game plan. The game plan is they talk little, say do all the talk, and then call for a vote, and we'll vote accordingly. And they did just exactly just that. Even with that, we had to stay for about 5 hours at the committee.
Why?
Because the issues to be interrogated were many, even though it was just nine clauses. And, you know, I wouldn't be the only one to speak. I have other colleagues on the committee, and my deputy is there, and I have other senior colleagues like Honorable Collins Dauda, the likes of Honorable John Jinapo, and co. So it's a committee of a lot of formidable people, and most of them has serious issues to raise. So we discussed it at length. And we threw the question to the Minister of Finance and his deputies.
Was he there?
Yeah, he was there in
person. He was at the committee?
He was there in person.
Yeah, so that's consulting.
Consulting is appearing before Committee of Parliament.
You mean this way?
Yeah, so he has to appear before us. I mean, he needs to be there, else we can't consider it.
And I'm curious, did he express any wish to come down from 1.75?
Never. Never. In fact, he sat throughout the meeting, took most of the questions himself, because the questions were directed at him in person. And I can tell you on authority that our Minister of Finance never made any attempt to reduce the rate from 1.75 to something else. Never. It didn't come up.
I asked that because each time this question had come up, you heard a majority member say that it's at the committee level that the reductions will happen.
You see, that is why I've told you here, and let me tell you again, that our brothers from the MPP and sisters, they are not really straightforward to the people of Ghana. They're not telling us the truth. They're not straightforward. You can't trust them. They say this today and change their position tomorrow. We went to the committee with the hope that all what they've said outside, that when they come to the committee, they will make some concessions to us. No concession of the sort came.
Fair to say that they already made concessions before the committee.
What concession?
We've talked about it. They've taken the e-levy off remittances. They had also, from the original plan, they were also going to, the memo is still there. Bank transfers was, initially the plan was that, as we all thought, it possibly going to be also on transfers originally from corporate entities. It's not part of it, only individuals. I mean, so there's some room there that the government
Did you think that's a concession? Do they have a choice? They had no choice. The backlash they would have received, I mean, the public uproar that would have come up, the issues, I mean, your company probably would have said, no way. So probably some of the issues that we are talking about, and I'm sure they are listening to us, some of these things, they are human, they will listen to us. That is not part of consultation. In political administration, consultation is sitting with your opponent and having a jojo. I mean, this is a hung parliament. They should take it or leave it. This is a hung parliament. It's about time they live with the reality. And the reality is that when you have a hung parliament, you can't treat us like you used to do before. This parliament is certainly different from the last parliament, the 7th parliament.
So you know this, and that's why you're deliberately holding government hostage and deliberately frustrating government business. Is that what is happening?
I don't think it's deliberate here. We are not frustrating government business.
But that's the effect of what you do.
We are standing by the ordinary people of Ghana.
The ordinary people of Ghana, they want roads.
The ordinary people.
They want their school fees paid.
The ordinary people
of
Ghana. Yes, the ordinary people of Ghana want roads. They want hospitals.
And they can't get that without revenue.
They don't want their medium of exchange taxed.
So how are they going to get the roads,
the
hospitals,
they are low-hanging
the schools?
fruits. They are low-hanging fruits. Evans, since this administration took office in January 2017, tax exemptions alone that they've granted, import tax exemption and then domestic tax exemption, to date is 17.5 billion Ghana cedis going to multinational corporations. Multinational corporations. That is low-hanging fruit. They should first stop the tax exemptions. There will be enough for them. You don't need to tax mobile money to make that money. There's wastage in the system. Cut it and save the money.
They haven't done that, but no government has also succeeded in doing that either.
But you see, it is ballowing. It's getting out of hand. We sit in parliament on a daily basis and you approve tax exemptions left, right, and center. I've been talking about it almost all the time that this should stop. In fact, I have said that convert all tax exemptions to tax credit so that we can track it. Track it, even those ones that you believe that you can't do anything about it. Convert it to a tax credit. Why do you give it to them ahead? Give it to them afterwards. And let them prove that they've done what they are supposed to do before they can claim that in the form of tax credit. So we've said it. I mean, we've advised this government, but they won't listen. It's a government that doesn't listen. They see you as opposition, so obviously you just scream and go. But that is not governance. That is not governance. Governance is when you listen to your opposition person, and if there's sense in what he's saying, you take it as part of formulating a policy. That is what they have to do.
So there's a lot of talk about dialoguing, but the question is, you've taken an entrenched position. Government has to, at least.
We haven't.
But your position is no e-levy. You're not even going to listen to the conversation about e-levy.
We are saying no e-levy with a reason. And so we want them
to appreciate
the reason.
But that's an entrenched position. Regardless of the reason, it is an entrenched position.
You see, we expect superior argument from what we are saying. If they give me a superior argument, that is not a tax on the medium of exchange. It's not a tax on savings. It's not a tax on working capital. They are not taxing the ordinary person. And they change my thinking about all what I've raised, I may change my position.
But you know that there's nothing on earth, not even God, can convince you that the e-levy should be maintained.
Oh, if God sent Jesus Christ and Jesus spoke to me and said to me that, hey, Ato, this is not a tax on the medium of exchange, with a superior argument, I may change my position. But until then, I stay where I am.
But you've concluded that it is a tax on the medium of exchange.
But that is what it is.
Yeah, but if that is what it is, not if even God can convince you.
You see, if that is what it is, drop it and fine. Let's help you to get a good tax policy.
But that's the point I'm making to you, that is an entrenched position.
Well, I don't see that.
But entrenched position is one that says, I'm not going to even move my position, which you haven't. You haven't moved from beginning.
My position is that, or the minority's position is that, we have explained to you why we are against it. We throw it to you, the Ministry of Finance and Government. Tell us what you believe our position, whether you believe our position is wrong or right.
They've told you your position is wrong. They've told you.
No, they haven't. Nobody has come to say anything else.
But at the committee level, you asked all the questions of the finance minister. He must have had a justification for maintaining this.
No. You see, this is revenue driven. Their focus is winning tax policy. And my argument is simple. You have invested over the years, in the last 15, 20 years as a country, in ensuring that we can have an economy where there's cash light. Or we want to build a digital economy over the years. So Ghana has been investing some good money, obviously. Why do you punish someone who is helping you build a cash light economy as against the person who is still using cash? Even as I speak with you, the two of us go out there to buy the same thing. I pay cash, you use mobile money. I am actually going contrary to government policy. You are going for a government policy, supporting what the government seeks to do. And the government is punishing you and leaving me. This is contrary to the fairness principles of a tax policy. You don't design a tax policy of this nature. It is wrong in the first place. And that is what we're saying to government. Listen to what we are saying. We don't mean bad. We are not just saying it because we are opposition members of parliament. We are Ghanaians first. Ghana is my world. I do everything for this republic because this is my country. I do not have two countries. And I have to do whatever it takes to improve the governance and improve the way we all can live in successfully. That is what we have to do. So nothing more, nothing less.
So this is the conundrum that you've been in the finance ministry before, you know that this country is in dire need of revenue. Dire need of revenue. And wherever you can find out, once upon a time under your watch, you imposed a raft of taxes on everything, including cutlasses, right? So that is an admission that this country is desperate for revenue. This is one of the measures. So the big question then remains, if not this, how does this country survive then in the midst of a major pandemic?
Okay, Evans, first.
You say cut, but that cut won't give you the number.
You say you have revenue, you have expenditure. Value for money will do something good for this country. There are certainly certain frivolous expenditures that are going on in the budget. We've identified a number of them. And we're saying that, look at that, deal with that, and then again come to the revenue side. The government has a responsibility to identify other sources of tax revenues. And as I've said, apart from the international trade taxes or custom taxes, as long as domestic revenue is concerned, you have two key tax policies that you can look around it. Tax on consumption and then tax on income. Identify new streams of income. You are the government. Identify the new streams of income and tax them appropriately. Do you want me to sit in opposition to come and do it for you? That's the work of the government. I can do that for them. So, because they have failed in identifying some of this, they found a lazy way to find somebody's medium of exchange and to tax it appropriately. No, that's a very lazy approach.
But even before,
it's a very lazy approach.
Even before this tax may be implemented, government, through negotiations with the telcos, have managed to secure, well, the telcos agree with this, and then there's a collaboration on this, a 25% reduction in the mobile money transfer charges for both MTN and Airtel. But MTN is the overwhelming superpower in that area, and it's reduced by 25%. That clearly is lessening the burden of the e-levy, if indeed it's passed and implemented. And you must applaud government for that.
I will not applaud them, because even the approach is wrong.
Why is that wrong?
The approach is wrong because, look, why is it that the telcos are reducing it 25%? They're reducing it 25% for a simple reason that they can give away that money, isn't it?
True.
Okay. So if you're a tax policy person and the telcos are actually earning an economic rent in your country and you want to take 25% of that, impose a taxation of economic rent to take their revenue. It's a very easy way to get it. And that should be a tax policy for them to deliver that 25% to you. And then obviously reduce that e-levy to correspond with that.
Your suggestion is tax the telcos more?
No, on that service that they are giving you the 25%. Because if you say tax them more, you are taxing everything. But it's not everything that you are taxing. Because remember, they don't only do mobile money. But on the basis that they are ready to give you 25%, because they are earning in excess of economic rent and they can see 25% to you, introduce that policy and then take that money. So now what they have done, reducing the service rate by 25%. One, it doesn't mean tomorrow they will go back. They won't go back by increasing their rate. It doesn't mean that, because you don't regulate the amount that they charge. Is there any policy like that? No, I'm not aware of one. So the telcos today can tell you that we'll give you 25, we'll reduce it by 25%. But tomorrow they can go back there to say that because of A, B, C, D, our cost is going up, so we are jacking it up. It doesn't necessarily translate into a lessening burden of a tax policy. So you have to look at, if you want to introduce a tax policy, calculate the incidence of the tax policy across the economy and be able to do it. So the approach itself, as I've said, is wrong. The approach, for me, it does not convince me. There's a lot they have to do. And that is why I'm saying that this government needs to listen. Work with us. We don't mean bad. We are members of parliament. We are part of a government, because the government has three arms. Apart from the executive, we don't belong to the executive. We are members of parliament. Before you introduce a policy, discuss with us. And that is why I have said at the committee, and I'm on record to have said it, that look, don't consider this under certificate of urgency for a simple reason. Number one, we've seen the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications written a letter to Parliament in fact, to the Speaker of Parliament, addressed to the attention of Honorable Joe Osewusu. It has not been limited to the Finance Committee. And I have seen a copy.
Which agency is this?
The Ghana Chamber of Telecom.
Yeah, they indeed wrote
They wrote a letter, dated 1st December. And I only saw a copy of the letter on the social media, tabulating what they think
with alternatives.
The alternative that is going to be. Let us not consider this tax policy and the certificates of agency so that we can engage them. Let's hear from them if they have a superior argument. I want someone to convince me on that one so that we can engage with them. We've also seen the E-Commerce Association of Ghana issuing a public notice that they are against it for a reason. Let's engage them. We have the likes of GIPS. You know, GIPS is a state agency. And as we speak as a country, the one with enough knowledge to be able to advise government, all of us, in fact, including Parliament, is GIPS. So why don't we invite GIPS so that we can hear from them outside the Minister of Finance?
You're saying that beyond the Minister of Finance, you've not heard anybody else on this matter?
No.
At the committee level?
No. And I think it's wrong. Something that has, generated so much public discussion. You can't just go and sit down and consider it and pass it. You would have done a lot of injustice to the people that put you there.
If this wasn't being considered a certificate of urgency, how long would it have normally taken under the rules?
You see, and under the rules, you have a constitution provision on that, so you have to gazette it. I think it's about 14 days. I'm not too sure. It's about 14 days. And then after gazetting, then it will come to Parliament under the normal, so to be laid, referred to us. We can use 1 day or 2 days to listen to all of these people and subsequently take the action.
Okay, so that's why they wanted to abridge it and do everything in 24 hours within the day.
Exactly.
But now we have a situation where Parliament has adjourned till next year. So that indirectly leaves room for that to happen. My question to you is, what is the thinking? You're a senior in Parliament and you're a leader on the committee. In that intervening period, what's going to happen? Is there clarity on that?
There's no clarity. The instruction must come from the government side as to what they want us to do. There are those with a bill. There are those that want us to have an engagement. They should lead. And that's why I'm saying I'm hoping to see leadership. I'm ready, apart from going to my constituency. And even if I go to my constituency today and they call me the very day, I will come back and sit. We are ever ready.
Are you willing, now parliamentarians, are you willing, if they recall Parliament for this, will you come?
Look, even if they call me on the 25th of January, 25th of December on a Christmas Day, we are ready to work.
To come and get consulted on this matter?
We are ready to work any day, any time. All what we are saying is that they should listen to us. Listen to us. We want to have an opportunity to mix the likes of GIPS. We want to have an opportunity to make the likes of Ghana Chamber of Telecommunication. Officially. Not me going to give someone their phone call. Officially. To be heard on the matter. Before the committee to give us evidence and for them to have an opportunity to express their opinion on the matter.
Let me ask you, so let's return to what happened in part. Where were you when the fight broke out on the floor?
I was on my seat. I sit right behind the minority leader. So
you were very close to the action?
Very, very close to the action. Very, very close to action. It did happen, and I've heard people talk about what happened. What I've not heard people talk about is what triggered the action.
What's your position on this?
You see, first of all, if you want to solve a problem, you have to find out what are the triggers. This is not the first time in a year that we've seen this. This is the second time. First, it happened January 7th. But on the eve of January 7th, someone was trying to subvert the Constitution, because it is clear that any time you are electing a speaker, you have to subject it to a secret balloting. So if you want to subvert the Constitution, setting aside the Constitution, obviously, some people will resist the process rule. So they did just that. Yes, some of us may be quiet. Some of us may be the guys that may not be able to use force. But there are others that don't really care. And we're all not the same. That's why all the hands, it's not the same. There are different kinds of people. But some of them have said that they will not allow you to subvert the Constitution. So that triggered an issue. Then secondly, yes, last night, on the eve of the 21st, another one broke up. A Speaker of Parliament that is presiding, someone who has lost his original vote because he's presiding, then decide to switch with another Speaker of Parliament who had already voted so that he can get an opportunity to vote. He has already announced to us that this is what he was going to do.
Yes.
Again, subverting the will of the people.
But while presiding, he's leaving. He's left the chair. He's no longer presiding, so he's free to vote.
He was trying to pull a fast one on us. But Evans, let me ask you this simple question. Number one, you have taken a vote, and it was a voice vote. You were the one presiding. You did not take part in that voice vote. Some voted yes, others voted no. You judge, in fact, you rule on it and said that you think the yes has it, or the ayes has it. Then subsequently, a minority chief whip rose up to challenge you and say that, look, in line with in line with the orders or the rules of the House, he does not believe that the ayes had it. And so he's calling for a division. So they should go through the division process. Now they are going to do head count to see them individually. You did not take part in the original one. How can you take part in the second one? You did not vote originally.
So is that a justification for the violence?
No, but you see, let us talk about the triggers.
Yeah, but you've talked about the triggers. So we've had the triggers. But does that justify violence?
But you see, I wouldn't say it justifies violence. But you see, what is important is that don't subvert the Constitution. Because there are people that will not take it. Don't subvert it. Don't set the Constitution aside. Don't disrespect the rules of Parliament. Play by the game. The rules were actually made for us to respect. So why do you do things that are contrary to what all of us are supposed to do? You are the Speaker of Parliament.
But if that was happening, it's two wrongs certainly don't make a right. I mean, there were legal means to challenging what he's done. What you attempted to do if you believe it was wrong.
You see, the harm probably may have been done already by that time.
Yeah, but the legal rules nonetheless.
You see, let me say that I don't support violence.
Yeah.
I'm not violent by nature.
In fact, I'm told you ran away from the chamber.
I can't stand it. I can't stand it. I don't run. I move a bit away. But you see, I can't stand it.
Yeah.
But let us not just condemn it. Condemn the act as well.
Okay.
Condemn the act as well, because that is what is triggering it. And I believe that our colleagues from the MPP should not think that because they have the executive power with them, they can push their way, even if the Constitution and the rules of the House does not support them. It will help this country.
Dr. Forson, Merry Christmas in advance.
Merry Christmas to you, Evans.
Enjoy the rest of it.
Thank you.